Congratulations on the film. I've had a chance to sit down and watch it, and congratulations. It's a brilliant little thriller.
Thank you, thank you. I'm definitely proud of what the team accomplished. That's for sure.
So tell us a little bit about how you became involved with this film.
It was a couple of years now that I got the script sent through, and one night from my manager in LA, and I decided to read the first 20 pages, and I'd finish it the next day. But once I started reading, I just couldn't put it down, and I think about 2 o'clock in the morning, I messaged my manager saying, please get me a meeting. I definitely want to have a chance to pitch on this. So from there, it became a matter of convincing the producers on it over the course of probably about 30 meetings, whether they were Zoom calls from Melbourne or whether I was actually in LA having a face-to-face meeting. And eventually they trusted me enough to let me direct it.
What was it about the script that drew you in? Like, I know when we were watching the film, you're drawn in very, very quickly, but what was it about the script and what was written on the page that drew you in?
I found it, I think it's quite a simple story, but quite a complex character within that story. So I always loved that element of it. And then, you get to page 20 and suddenly she's attached to her dead husband. And I found that idea, that visual motif of someone who was trapped in this lifeless marriage, now trapped to her lifeless husband, just so interesting. And I always thought there's so many things we can do here. And, when it happens at page 20, I was kind of like, okay, well, how are we going to keep this interesting for the rest of the movie? And it just, Jason Carvey, the screenwriter, he just did such a great job of making it snowball bigger and bigger and just get more and more intense. And so, yeah, I just found really attracted to the material.
One of the things I felt when I was watching this film is whenever you see the snow, you feel that cold, but there's also a real claustrophobic feel to this film as well, like especially inside the house. Did that come across in the screenplay, and was that something that as director you really worked to bring across to the audience as well?
Definitely. I mean, in regards to the actual exterior stuff, a lot of the location scouting, they kept showing me houses that had, they were in the middle of the woods, and I said, this really isn't a cabin in the woods type film. We have to see the horizon. We have to see this endless abyss of snow and realize how screwed she is. And so it took a while to find that location. But then, the opposite of that inside the house, it was trying to kind of create this maze-esque house that had, hallways, different rooms, and everything like that. And when I landed, they had, just from reading the script, they had mapped out a house of what I was thinking, but it had to be very particular where each room was in terms of her coming down the stairs and finding this and discovering that. So I had it really heavily mapped out in my head before I even arrived. So I said, no, this isn't what we need, and I actually went home that night and drew up some plans for the house and gave it to them. And it was one of those things where we needed to build the interiors because it was so particularly important to the story and the elements that were within that story.
And how much say did you actually get on the casting? Because I feel that this is absolutely a perfectly cast film. So how much say did you actually have on the casting? It was very collaborative with the producers in terms of throwing names out there. But it was actually Jeffrey, the Millennium President, that actually said, what about Megan Fox? And I was a little bit hesitant only because I thought she was going to say no for sure. I was like, there's no way this script is going to convince. I had never seen her do a film like this, so I just had assumed this wouldn't be up her alley. And I thought we're going to be waiting for a month to hear a no, and then a week later they called me up and said, no, she's really excited by the material and wants to jump on a call. So I was thrilled once I found out that she wanted to be a part of it, but I was worried that we were actually gonna get a no from her. And then the other cast members, it was really just throwing names out there. I've been a big fan of Callum Mulvey from since Underbelly, since I seen him in Underbelly, and wanted to work with him for years. So I was excited by that opportunity. Mel, Owen, just great actors that I had seen over the years. You know, when they mentioned him, I was like, yes, please, let's see how we can, go getting them. And then Jack Roth actually came through. We did a widespread kind of audition through the UK, and he popped up, and it was, finding the brothers was probably the toughest challenge, because you need certain similarities. Obviously, they're brothers, but also there's a certain dynamic between the two that we needed to find that right chemistry. So that was really important. And Jack he brought exactly what we needed.
Yeah, you mentioned Callan there. I've been a huge fan of his since Rush. I thought that he was absolutely fantastic in that show. Was it great having another Aussie on set? And what's he like to work with? Because he always, to me, comes across as a tough guy that's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible to work with. He just wants to give 110%. And, I would say my only battles with him is saying, no, we have to move on. We have to, we have to go. We got to, make our days. So, he wants to give 110%. He can tell when he feels inauthentic, or, he's definitely really in touch with his performance, and he knows if he can push it a bit further, or if he can, pull it back before I even have to give direction. So, there's that element, but also he's got that laid-back Australian vibe as well, which is just incredible to have on set. And I would say, it's the same with the UK actors and all that. Like there's definitely a similarity between that. I haven't done a movie in America. I don't know what that would be like with a bunch of American actors, but I definitely felt that laid-back vibe. You work hard and everything, but you can kind of shut yourself off, have a laugh, and I think that's important on a film like this that gets pretty dark.
Yeah, I was going to mention too about Megan being in this film. It is such a dark film, and she's putting together such a great body of work over the last couple of years. I mean, she stole the show in a kids' film a couple of years ago with Think Like a Dog. What's she like to work with, and what was she like to work with on such a dark, matted script?
She was great to, she brought a lot of interesting ideas to the project, and I would say there was a version of this script early on when she came on board where she puts on the wedding dress, and we were already having discussions of, Ready or Not was just coming out at that stage, and we're like, we can't really, it's just visually tying in too close to this. And then when I jumped on that first call with her, we were discussing different options, and we hit on this idea of like, well, why doesn't she put on the tuxedo? And I think that was kind of a game changer for our film, because it just, it helped, it helped us understand this character a little bit more and where she was at, and it also just created this new kind of interesting visual motif of her slowly putting on the tuxedo and dragging her husband in the wedding dress. I just found that, again, really interesting. But yeah, she was incredible to work with. I think I really lucked out with this cast, because we were under such, we were under the pump with the shooting days. Because of COVID, we had to divide the crew into 3 groups, and you had to, be socially distancing, so that slowed things down. And then on top of that, we had to change our shooting days from 12-hour days to 10-hour days with a running lunch. So there was a lot of challenges that were thrown at us with COVID. So everyone had to be on their game. Everyone had to be rocking up and ready to go from take one. And she was amazing.
Yeah, you, as a director, you almost put her through hell with this film, like with some of the really intense scenes that she's in. And she did those intense scenes too in Rogue last year. What's she like as an actress to work with on those scenes? Like, do you have to really sit down with someone like her and talk her through what's going to happen with the scene, especially when it's something so intense like some of the scenes we see here?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest challenge is just because it's so contained within the time. So it's just informing where we've come from, everything she's done. It's like, okay, keep in mind that you've dragged this body up the stairs for the last 5 minutes, which we're going to be shooting in 2 weeks' time. So because you're shooting so much out of order, it is just trying to keep her performance and that exhaustion, and just making sure that there's a continuity with that. That was with everyone. But yeah, I think she was great to work with. Day 3 was the first time we were working with her and other actors, and it just happened to be what we called the infamous scene 102, which was her waking up in the bedroom later on with the brothers there, and it was this massive scene that had 3 fights throughout it. We needed the body to be moving from one place to the other. We needed equipment and tools to be in certain areas, the safe to be in a certain area, and we were trying to map out where the blood trails would be prior to shooting earlier scenes. So it was definitely a lot of work to figure all that out, and it took the whole crew to make sure that we weren't shooting ourselves in the foot. And it's actually the scene I'm kind of most proud of, and it just came together so well with everyone. And we did map it out fairly tightly with storyboards and everything prior to the shooting. But on the day, you've got the actors, you've got the choreography of the fights, everything is changing, and you're just trying to make sure that it's all going to connect once we get into the editing room.
Yeah. Scott, you mentioned a couple of things already that were pretty challenging, especially around COVID. This was your first feature after coming off doing short films. For all the filmmakers that listen to this show, what was the biggest challenge or the biggest difference that you noticed going from doing a short film to a feature film?
The biggest thing, which wasn't actually a challenge, was just doing short films at the scale that I was doing. You're in charge of everything, and so your mind is on 100 different things at once. And something as simple as catering, worrying about feeding you, like not having that on the back of your mind while you're directing, is just a massive relief, and you can focus on the creativity far more. So it was really amazing working with this team, because they were taking, from your script supervisors to a lot of the short films I've done, I do the cinematography myself. So having just a DOP on set and stuff like that was huge. It was just a massive weight lifted off me, even though I was coming into something that was far bigger, and on scale and budget and everything like that. So it was quite interesting, because I think I felt overwhelmed when I first got the job, but then once you land on set and you're surrounded by this incredibly experienced team, I just felt safer than ever.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. What did you feel like day one on set? Were you nervous, or was it excited and it felt like all your dreams were coming true?
It was really exciting. I think because we kept getting shut down with COVID, and things were happening where we were trying to reschedule the actors, and it kept getting delayed more and more. There was just a moment where I thought, this is never going to happen. It's just going to slowly break us all. But getting everyone on set and starting to shoot, it was just a really exciting time. I was a little bit nervous because we wanted to make it look grungy, and we wanted it to feel. And the first scene that we actually were shooting was the basement scene, which is probably the darkest and the grungiest looking of it all. So I was a little bit nervous of how the producers were going to, be with the darkness of it and everything. So I sat them down beforehand. I was like, I just want you to know that this particular scene is going to be a lot darker, and it's going to be, a lot grungier than what we have earlier on when she's lit the candles and all this. So I think sitting them down beforehand made them feel a little bit more comfortable, because I did hear they were very nervous about the lighting. But thankfully, because of COVID, the producers were classified as a Class C, which meant they could only come on set for emergencies. So I didn't have them looking over my shoulder the whole time, which was great. But in saying that, they ended up being very collaborative and freeing, and it was great to work with. But day one, I was a little bit nervous that they could just take it off my hands, and yeah.
Definitely. Well, mate, it is an absolutely fantastic film, and our listeners are about to get a chance to be able to watch it. So to finish off the interview, what would you like to say to people out there before they get a chance to sit down and watch your amazing film?
I would just say try to come into it as blind as possible. Don't look at the trailer, don't look at the posters, and I think people who have done that have enjoyed it a lot more. But, you know, obviously people want to make sure they're going to enjoy it beforehand, and I don't necessarily think watching the trailer is going to ruin the movie for you. I think we have a lot of twists and turns along the way. But, yeah, just sit back and enjoy the roller coaster of a ride that is Till Death.